Are you sick to death of digging over your raised beds, breaking your back to remove those weeds every year and every few weeks once the growing season hits? If you are, this video is for you. I'm going to show you all the benefits and how to set up your no-dig raised bed. I'm going to tell you the benefits of why we use no-dig beds versus dig beds. I'm going to show you my journey. I'm going to compare a no-dig bed versus a dig bed, and you will see for yourself exactly why a no-dig bed has all the benefits and no disbenefits. So if this is the kind of thing you like, please subscribe to the channel, give me a like, leave me a comment, and hopefully you'll also get the benefits too. So let's jump straight into this. I'm going to show you my no-dig raised beds, how I'm going to prepare them, and then I'm going to plant out my pumpkins into the freshly prepared beds. So let's get into it. So here are two of my raised beds, or should I say no-dig raised beds. And if you look closely, at the end of autumn last year, I layered this up with the cardboard. That was to suppress the light, to stop any weeds from coming through. And I think you can see there isn't many. There is the odd few little weeds that have poked through, but that's absolutely fine. And there's a couple more in this bed. That is fine. That is very, very minimum, but we're going to be covering them up with some more cardboard in a minute. But just before we get started, I'm going to take you over to one of my dig beds. This used to be my dig bed, and I think you can see the difference. Look at the amount of weeds that have come up in here. I've not used the no dig method here, and this has actually become far too weedy for me to do anything with. That is a rhubarb, but there's even weeds all dotted throughout that too. So it's become a bit of a dumping ground. Unfortunately, that bed is not going to be used this year. So straight off, you can see the difference. That's a dig bed. That's how many weeds it gets. And these are the two no dig beds. Straight off, massive comparison. I think you know where I'm going with this. So what do you need to get started? You need some cardboard, and you need some compost, or at least something you can use as mulch. I'm going to be using these bags of compost. Some of you may recognize this. This is actually Asda's own multi-purpose compost. It's not very good, hence why you get 3 packs for £10, but I'm going to use that as a base layer. And then this compost, this multi-purpose peat-free compost from Aldi, is much better. £3.99 a bag for 40 litres. That's what I'm going to be planting into. It is enriched with all kinds of nutrients to really help your plants get going. So let's make a start on this one. So before we get started, you might be asking why do we do no dig? Now, this has only been quite a recent philosophy. It's been championed by people like Charles Dowding, who really set the tone and showed us all the benefits of no dig. So I have been doing it for the last few years, and I've also found the benefits. Why do we do it? Bacteria, microorganisms, fungi, they've been evolving for millions of years. They know how to protect the soil and really help the plants that grow within it. So let's just follow what they've been doing it. There's worms in here. There's all kinds of living organisms. They make all their nice little roots and tunnels inside, which can help with drainage, but it can also help hold water as well. As I say, these microorganisms, creatures, have been evolving for millions of years. So let's just leave them to do their thing. Every time you dig in a bed, you disrupt that. You can disrupt all those worm tunnels and holes. You can chop up weeds. You can scatter weed seeds. By digging in the soil, you can basically be multiplying weeds without even knowing it. So by not disturbing the soil, you're not doing any of that. Plus, you're not digging every 2 minutes. This is a real time saver, and it's also cost efficient because you're not constantly having to add extra things to this soil. So let me show you what you need to do first. I've got the cardboard, so let's get started with layering out the cardboard. Right, it's really important to choose cardboard which doesn't have plastics and sellotapes and that kind of thing all over it. Even some staples can be quite damaging. So I've picked some cardboard that doesn't. So this piece of cardboard is ideal. However, this has tons of sellotape all over it, as you can see. So I'm just quickly going to remove that. What you don't want is this breaking down and ended up in your soil. adding a load of microplastics back into the ground. So make sure, first thing, remove any kind of plastic, sellotapes and that kind of thing from the cardboard. Right, that's all that horrible plasticky tape removed. So get rid of that, bin that. Now it's as simple as laying this cardboard out on the raised bed so that you cover every single little bit of the soil. If any part of that soil sees the light and the sunshine, a weed will grow. Believe me, it always finds a way. It searches through, finds the light and comes through. So we want to block it off. Also, we get what's called weed creep, which is weeds growing along the side of our raised beds that actually then go underneath and then come up inside because they're growing here, sends out a runner, and then you can imagine it's going into that lovely nice soil that we've just prepared for our plants that we want to grow, and the weeds go in there. One of the things about weeds as well, they suck out all the nutrients from your soil and also overcrowds everything. So we don't want weeds. No gardener wants weeds. But as we all know, a weed is just a plant growing in the wrong place or the place that we don't want it to grow. So it's dead simple. I think you can see where I'm going with this. We're just going to lay out this cardboard on the raised bed, covering every single aspect of the soil, but also going up to and over the sides just to try and prevent weed creep. So these pieces are really good because they're quite flat, but obviously we've got some gaps in it. So I'm just going to lay it out as best I can. I think I've got enough to do double layer in some places. And some of these pieces, they're absolutely perfect for this kind of thing because they're nice, big and flat. I think I'll save that one for the other bed. You can even double up in some places also. So the thing with cardboard is this will rot down over the year, really break down and actually add some carbon back into the soil and some other nutrients that are in the cardboard. It's really beneficial. As I say, it biodegrades, it composts down, and actually this is another layer of mulch ultimately in the end. So just going to finish that off. I'm going to do the other one and then I'm going to show you what comes next. Right, I'm really happy with that. They are really covered now. I try my best to go up to the edges wherever possible and even do a little bit of an overlap just again to stop that weed creep. So they're all layered nicely. I do actually have some raspberries that have popped up in this bed. They must have come from a fruit bed. I think you can also guess that used to be a dig bed. I am going to have to sort that out, but I've got another plan for that. So that can come in a future video. But I have to lay the cardboard around these raspberries because they have grown very nicely in this raised bed. I think, yeah, actually spotted a few little baby raspberries on there. So they're going to be coming up nicely year after year now. I might have to move them. But anyway, back to the no dig beds. So cardboard laid on. Move back, you can see we've got 1 and 2. Now it's just time for the top layer of compost. I'm going to use the cheap as the stuff as the base layer, got a couple of centimeters of that spread over, and then a top layer of the more nutrient rich Aldi compost on top. Okay, so dead simple. Let's get this open and spread all over the bed. Anyone who buys compost knows it really doesn't go far, but if I just do a nice thin layer of this, this will help. Just do that base layer that I've been talking about. Some people also like to water in the cardboard before they do this, but I'm going to water at the end so it all holds in. It's a very hot sunny day today, so if I water that cardboard before adding this, I think it'd dry out straight away. But the water just helps it break down, and that's what's going to help compost it into the soil eventually. So let's just spread this out. In fact, I'm going to use the other bag. I'm trying not to walk on this too much because you don't want to compact the soil. Right now, it's nice, fluffy soil, and that's what plants thrive in. First layer, and I think I'm going to end up using these 2 bags as well, but I'm just going to do this one for today. I'm going to need to buy some more compost anyway for that one. So we're just going to focus on this one right now, and this is where the pumpkins are going to go in anyway. Right, hopefully you can see the difference. This darker soil is much more nutrient rich. That's why I'm putting this as my top layer. Now it's just time to rake it in. They say this top layer, the mulch, the top layer can be anything from ½ an inch to a couple of inches thick. I'm giving this the best chance I can this year, so that's why I'm doing it a bit thicker. Mine's probably going to end up about 2 to 3 inches once I've raked this all over. But these are hungry plants, these pumpkins, so I'm giving them the best start. So let's just rake that in, trying to break up any big clumpy bits that I find. Just give it that equal layer all over. Again, just breaking this up wherever possible. The thing about raised beds, if you've used them before and you grow in raised beds, every year these drop down. So although I'm layering this up, you might be thinking in years to come this is going to be this huge mound. It doesn't. It breaks down and keeps dropping. So that's why adding a couple of inches each year actually probably just keeps the equilibrium of the height of the bed. I've had this bed now for about 8 years, I think, and I still keep putting more in it every year. So just goes to show it really does break down. If I was a plant, I'd like to be planted in this. Okay, here is the finished raised bed. I'm going to come down to that level. It's really fluffy, nutrient-rich soil. I'm just now going to add some blood, fish and bone to this, and then we'll get planting. Right, I've got some blood, fish and bone, which I do like to mix into all my raised beds. Just gives it that extra bit of nutrients. It's not expensive, and just throw a few handfuls on. Sprinkle that all around. Don't think that by putting more on you're adding, you basically use it quite sparingly. You don't want to put too much of this on the soil. Sometimes it just become a little bit too nutrient rich, and that means the plants won't form that strong root system searching for the goodness and then ultimately being able to give you the strongest plants. So use it sparingly, but it's always good to have a little sprinkling of fish, blood and bone. Okay, hope you agree. This bed now looks absolutely perfect. There's not a weed in sight. Any weeds that are left in there from either the seeds or the runners underneath, hopefully will be suppressed for at least long enough to get us through this season. There might still be the odd one that comes up, but that's dead easy just to either pick out, or you may choose to leave it, depending on the weed, or if you really, really don't want to disturb the soil at all. I normally pick out the little young ones when I see them. One other thing I didn't mention is no dig doesn't mean you can't dig to dig up your potatoes or your carrots or your turnips or that kind of thing that grows in the ground. Obviously, you have to dig them out. Often you can just loosen the soil and pull them out, but no dig is generally so you're not digging and constantly disturbing the soil, disturbing the mycorrhizal fungi, disturbing that wonderful nutrient-rich ecosystem that lives deep down under the soil. So anyway, I've got 10 pumpkins. This bed is about 2 meters by 1.5 meters. 10 might be pushing it. I'm going to space them out to be about 2 feet apart. Let's see if I can get them all in here. They generally grow really well over here, and because pumpkins are scrambling plants, they like to grow nice and big, they will come out of this bed, so I need plenty of space for them to be able to roam and crawl all over the ground to give me plenty of pumpkins. These are the type you grow for Halloween, quite a decent size, and then we can carve them up for Halloween. Anyway, let's get these planted in. These are not fully root bound yet, but they are getting there, and some of these leaves are just starting to turn a little bit yellow, meaning that these are desperate to go in the ground now. So I've got enough soil now just to be able to get these in, firm around, and as I say, they can now start roaming all over the soil. The roots of these will also be able to penetrate into the cardboard, so don't worry that they're only going to be able to go as deep or the roots will stay finely on top, because they won't. As that cardboard gets nice and wet and soggy, the roots will just go through it and then they'll find that lovely soil underneath it all. Okay, they are in. They're looking fantastic. We are mid-May at the moment, so there shouldn't be any chance of any frosts. They'll be absolutely fine, I'm sure. They've been hardening off now nicely anyway. So there's my 10 pumpkins in. I will go and get some more compost for that top layer, but for now that can just stay on, and that will just suppress any extra weeds trying to get through in the next couple of days. Right, I'm now going to give these a good soak. I'm going to completely soak the whole bed so it goes right through and gets that cardboard really, really wet. So that starts to go soggy, and then it'll start breaking down underneath the soil. But if you've learned something from this, if you found it useful, please leave me a comment, ask me any questions. I'm always happy to answer. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Give me that thumbs up. And if you've got any hype points to share, always grateful. So thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye now.